Hi everyone. Again, I'm just setting it up slightly early so that. Okay. Um, so, okay. So, today's webinar is more an expression of my thoughts and a few things that were triggered based on the LinkedIn responses I got after my last webinar, which was streamed on Thursday. So, you may not get a very clear takeaway from today's webinar, but let's have some kind of a dialogue discussion. And there are a few thoughts that I want to share with you guys. News flow has only got worse, and we seem to be entering the stage 3 of transmission of the coronavirus, which is rapid increase in the number of people infected because of community transmission. Thankfully, I think both the central and the state governments in India have woken up to what the issue is, and they have recognized the problem, and there are various levels of lockdown that we are seeing currently in the country. I, for one, is not here. I'm not here to trash the government. I think they are doing a very tough job. Um, they have a very tough job on their hands. In a country like ours, there is also an economic cost, which could also lead to loss of life. Hence, while a lot of us are privileged, want the government to lock down everything immediately, it is not as simple and a black and white choice. There are sound arguments on both sides, and I can cite compassion to justify either choice, right? So I saw a lot of tweets ridiculing the people who are rushing back home to their hometowns. There are videos online where you will see hordes and hordes of people on various stations in Mumbai, in Pune, in Delhi, etc. And people are calling them COVIDiots and stupid and illiterate, etc. Is it advisable to travel like that? The answer is clearly no. But I just want you to think, um, what is the option that they have? If you have graduated from a good university or a business school and have been working for a few years, you are most likely enjoying a very good quality of life. So it is easy for you to say that, let's just stay hunkered down during a lockdown. A lot of you may have savings which will help you get by a few months, if not a few years. But it is not so easy for most of our countrymen, especially those who are in the metros and in the large cities. I am from Mumbai and I will talk about what I know about my city. Take the example of an Uber driver that I actually know. Typically 10 to 12 people 10 to 12 people live in a 100 to 150 square feet room, in a slum. Uh, they work in rotation so that at any point of time in the day, there are only 6 or 8 people inside that room, actually. So some people work night duty, some people work in the day. People who work in the night make food for those who are going to work in the day, and those who work in the day actually make food for those who work in the night. And it's a kind of system they've figured out to live cost effectively in a slum. Now, you tell me, how do they survive a lockdown together? It's easy for us to say living in our homes. We have our own rooms, maybe, or maybe we are sharing it with a sibling. It's still better than living in a small kholi with 10 or 12 people at the same time. So, uh, I mean, we need to think about these things. Um, my point is that this virus is such that rich people are more likely to give it to the poor than the other way around. So, you can keep ridiculing people on Twitter and WhatsApp and on social media, but a lot of us in privileged positions are actually likely to be the biggest transmitters of the virus. I mean, simple things. Who travels abroad? Who is more likely to come in contact with people who have been traveling abroad? An Uber driver is likely to get it from a well-off passenger, and then he or she could end up infecting the whole slum. So you will argue that, if some of them already have it, and then if they go back home with that virus, they will end up infecting their community in their rural towns, etc. Yeah, that is definitely something that is, likely to happen. But I don't know what is the right choice there. I can understand that driver's decision to take the trip back home because it's a probability game that he's playing. And maybe it's better to be sick, when one has family support than to do it in 100 square feet, room in a slum. So, what would you do this and, what would you do in this kind of a situation? Just think about it for a while before you actually make any pronouncements and think that lockdown कर देना चाहिए, बंद कर देना चाहिए, जेल में डाल दो लोगों को. uh, it's not that easy, and I think we need to be more compassionate about this instead of just calling people names on social media or wherever. These are not easy choices. Some of us are too privileged to even relate to these situations. Another example I'll give you: one of my friends' household help has begged her to allow her to come home, and clean and do her work every day. She says, I won't have a place to bathe, wash my clothes, or even get a meal. So, what is better, that that person stays where she is, or she comes home and at least gets to do these basic things? And my view about this is that actually, if you think about it, it is a risk that she's taking by coming to your place and doing the work of your house. Because frankly, it's my friend who's likely to give her the virus than she giving the virus to my friend. It's just simple probability based on how transmission has happened everywhere in the world, right? Also, I haven't even spoken about the economic cost yet. A lockdown is necessary, but you try explaining it to a vegetable vendor or a daily wage laborer. They don't have savings like us. They probably already have people in their family who have diseases. A 2 month lockdown or a 3 month lockdown or maybe even a 6 week lockdown could mean that some of them might, anyway die. This is why I am a little disappointed with a lot of social media commentary by professionals and graduates from top universities and companies in India. There needs to be an attempt to understand and empathize with the circumstances of our countrymen. We will just never know because we've not experienced it, and we come from very different backgrounds. Uh, I'll give you one more example. Last week our whole office was working from home, but 2-3 people again within my office requested that it's far easier for them to actually work from office than to work from the PG that they stay in or the rented apartment that they stay in. So they wanted to come to office, and we had a rule that as long as there were less than 10 people in the office, it's fine. We open the office for them. Maybe now even that's not possible. So I happened to go and check the office one of the days, and as per routine, there was a guy who sells tea around our building, office building, and he came. And it was just heartbreaking to look at his face because there was just nobody in office for him to sell his tea. The entire attendance of that building was not there. So at least for him, overnight the revenue has become zero. Like his entire livelihood now is completely become zero. I mean, if he's not from this particular city, should he, without earning anything, expose himself to a bigger risk of contracting the disease living in a, cramped area in a slum, or should he go back home? So, I mean, these are very, very tough choices. We've never made them, so we'll not understand. That's the only thing I wanted to tell you again. Um, so I think at this point of time, what we should be doing is, uh, you know, do everything in our power to help whoever we can, whether it's the household help, the watchman, the liftman, the vegetable vendor, the garbage collector. I think they are really absolutely the most important people in this fight, and they need as much help as we can do because if the entire waste collection exercise in the country goes for a toss, we are likely to be in even bigger trouble later on, right? And no amount of help or importance that you attribute to this is going to be enough. Um, what are the other ways in which you can help? Maybe give paid leave to whoever you can. Sometimes it might even be helpful to give a corner of your house to someone who cannot stay in a small area. And I think a lot of us are in positions where we can actually do that. So let's just show some compassion and try and do something in our control, whatever is possible. I completely relate to all kinds of people right now, whether it's a small businessman who's probably staring at closure of his or her business in the next 45 days, 1 month. Some people are actually, already decided to close their businesses. Um, I mean, and there are very, very hard things to do. You might have to fire people. There are sometimes just no options. But let's do what we can. And I want you to also think about this one thing. Um, you know, this entire virus has actually, where has it come from? Rich people in China wanted to eat an exotic and endangered species, the pangolin, which in turn got the virus from a bat or many bats, we don't know. And they were the ones who ended up spreading it across the world through other rich people. And who's going to bear the brunt of this? The people from the lowest strata of the society for really no fault of theirs. अमीरों ने ये बीमारी सबको दी है, हमें ये भूलना नहीं चाहिए, right? And if there was a time for us to show compassion, it is now. In whatever way it is possible. These are very hard choices for you. You have to self-preserve and at the same time ensure that the entire ecosystem around you does not crumble. I don't have all the answers. I'm just trying to sensitize people, at least within our community, to do whatever they can, right? And the other reason is that the entire community of MBAs and professionals is a little entitled. They feel that they should get everything. They are the ones who are the smartest people, and they are the ones who are running the country's economy, etc., which is not only false, but also based on this sense of I am special because I have done XYZ in life. I think at times like these, all of this just crumbles. I mean, also if you think about it, this is the community of people that are the most related or connected to the Western world. I mean, they kind of mimic what the Western world is like. So there is a huge sense of I. I should get that awesome job, or I should get that foreign internship, or that I deserve an allowance. I think a lot of these questions are honestly no longer even relevant. So, I mean, if you look at it from the overall context, you are powerless. You might be rich, poor, you might have achieved a lot of things in life, but at this point of time, there are only that many things that you can do. But if you are blessed with resources, if you are blessed with a privileged position, then try and just think about others and be a little compassionate. It's my request. I'm not trying to preach anything. I'm just trying to sensitize and give a perspective. That's all, right? The other thing I want to talk about is student loans. So I think it's time for the government to show some compassion. I think the government should think about either reducing this debt. So maybe थोड़े लोन माफ कर देने चाहिए शायद. And I know it just sounds crazy, right? For us to even say something like this. When we keep on blaming the government for, giving farmers the benefit of, not paying loans back, etc. And we talk about, financial discipline नहीं होगा country में, and people will never repay debts because हम माफ करते रहते हैं loan. But अब हमारे ऊपर आई है, so we've realized, what life looks like. Because I think for sure in a lot of second tier students who are going to graduate from second tier universities are likely to face a lot of issues around this. And at least even if those loans cannot be written off, at least what the government can do is extend the moratorium period so that things become slightly easier for them. I honestly feel for the class of 2020. Graduation feels amazing. Convocation is an amazing feeling. You feel that you've accomplished something. You are probably at the age of 19, 20 if you are in undergrad, and maybe 25, 26, 24, whatever, when you are graduating from a B school or a postgraduate degree. And at that point of time, you feel that, anything is possible. Like you own the world, and you will win the world, and you will do whatever it takes. And this batch is just completely handcuffed. There are a lot of issues that they are going to face, more in terms of uncertainty. You don't know when you're going to join, you don't know when you're going to start, you don't know what your project is going to look like. And I mean, I really feel for them. And I think these are extraordinary times. So it's very difficult for someone to advise them, because very few people have actually seen anything like this. So, I mean, full support to you guys, and we can do whatever we can in our power to help you. And we are thinking about building something around this. But as of now, I just say that do what you have to do to keep improving yourself and ensuring that when all of this blows over, you are in a position to do well. So yeah, I think there is a need to be mindful of a lot of sudden changes that are happening around us, and we should at all times uh, figure out a way to be optimistic. Okay, I don't want to go more in this. Sometimes things look very gloomy, so maybe just I'll take a few questions and then I'll come back to a few other things I want to talk about. So the first question is around, can we expect increase in share prices of listed FMCG companies because their product demand is skyrocketing in the present scenario? Well, so again, I'm not a financial analyst per se. Prima facie, it might look as if there is great demand for things because people are hoarding a lot of, items, etc. But I think the overall economic downturn that this is going to lead to is going to lead people to spend less. So I'm not sure, whatever be the business you are in, maybe except for pharma companies or certain extremely essential item providers or service providers, I don't think that it is good news for anyone. So, I can't comment on what will happen to the stock prices, but I don't think this sounds very promising for any industry or any company, FMCG or no. Eventually, over a 3-month, 6-month period, it's just going to be very, very problematic. Okay. Hey, as a fresher, what pay scale can one expect from startups? Just a completely. So it's not a question that anybody can answer, because it depends on your profile, what you are applying for, what role you are applying for, where you are applying for. Genuinely cannot answer something like this. Siddharth, class 12, planning for FRM, CFA, actual sciences. Currently, I'm preparing for IPM IIM Indore. I have watched you, Rishabh and Ken sessions. Please guide. I don't know what you want, Siddharth, because you haven't really asked what exactly you need, or you just written any valuable advice and guidance. It's a great time to enter university, Siddharth. So do your best. Whatever you are trying to do, whether it is CFA, actuarial sciences, FRM, whether it's actually, if you do enter IIM Indore IPM program, just try to be the best that you can be and make the most of those 4-5 years. I honestly don't have any special advice around this, because you can't do much. As long as you are constantly learning, improving yourself, improving your profile, making yourself different from everybody else, I think you will do well. I'm just, slightly disheartened by the fact that we are still doing a lot of career counseling related questions. I mean, I'm happy to do that, but I just thought maybe we could also have some dialogue around what's currently happening with COVID and how situation is wherever you are. Is it easy to shift from mechanical or auto domain in the current scenario? Um, I think in the current scenario, everything is difficult, Mayur. So, I mean, you can try applying it. It's not that, people are still interviewing online on uh, via video interviews, etc. In fact, I have done a few interviews last week. There are people in my organization who are interviewing. In fact, I know somebody else who's also been interviewing the whole of last week. So it's not that people are not hiring, and it's not that shifting is impossible, but it's going to be tough. So which is why a lot of people are probably looking at taking up education more seriously at this time. Should I go for tier two colleges or Canada for MBA is what Ashish Moga is asking. Again, depends on your ambition in life, Ashish, what you aspire to do. But study abroad this year is going to be slightly muted because people are going to just be very wary of accepting foreign students. People are going to be very wary of going to foreign countries because of what's going on. So it's going to take some time before this settles down. So I'm not sure what will happen. If you have an admit from a good tier two college which meets certain criteria that you want to, meet in terms of your goals in life, then I think this might be a good time. So entirely depends on where you're getting admission from, etc. Why are COVID tests too costly? Why is government not subsidizing them? Scanning people will help control situation to a great extent. So Akshay, I think that there are very, very smart people who are in, they are IS officers and people who run the country. I'm sure that they know about this. There are, I'm sure, a lot of challenges given the size of the population that we have. I don't know why COVID tests are costly. I don't even know if they are actually costly. But I'm sure that they'll figure a way out. Right now, I mean, you and I are not experts, so we don't know whether scanning will really help people, will help situation to a great extent. Of course, there are case studies from South Korea and Taiwan and even Singapore to an extent which can be followed, and which is why I think social distancing has taken up in a big way in the last 1 week, and I think it's only going to get more stringent going forward, both from the side of the authorities as well as from the side of people. So it will happen, but just we need to have patience now, and we should just do whatever is in our control. Whether testing kits are available, not available, I'd leave it to experts in the field, people who can actually make those kits. Like, I mean, there are a lot of entrepreneurs currently in the US and in China who started doing a lot of work around trying to, either build ventilators or trying to build testing kits which can be transported very quickly across the globe. So if there are entrepreneurs who can solve these problems, they should definitely do it. Personally, I don't see myself as an expert at this, but I'm hoping that smart people are working on this and they will eventually find a solution to this. Shakil Sharaf is asking, should I join Great Lakes Institute of Management 1 year or 2 year based on placement situation for this year affected by Corona? I'm not going to talk about individual business schools. Again, Great Lakes Institute of Management is a partner of ours. So anything that I say here will end up sounding like I am trying to bat for them. So there is a conflict of interest. So I'm not going to speak about GLIM specifically. What I'm going to say is that rather than being in the job market right now, it might be better to not be in the job market and be in a business school or in any university studying something, so that when you get out in 2021 or 2022, things look better. Obviously, getting out in 2022 is likely to be even better because at the moment, the probability of things on a scale of how much things will improve, obviously 2021 has a lower probability of things having improved very well. So just think about that. Why did you not get into IIM Ahmedabad with 99.7? So I don't know if you've seen any of my previous videos, but it's essentially connected to the selection criteria. So, what is the score that you get in your 10th, 12th graduation? In fact, ours was one of the first batches when they started implementing a more diverse criteria around giving calls to people, and that was the reason why it happened. And yeah, I mean there is no other explanation for it. Okay. Shubham Kulkarni, you sent your CV. Great. I'm sure that somebody from the team will respond. Um, Even if we don't have an opportunity, you will get a response, but you'll have to be a little patient about this. I am seeing already someone from my team has responded. Uh, yeah, so someone's talking about Maharashtra government should give money in the bank accounts to people for their daily meals. So Suraj, I agree with you. I have, in fact, on both on LinkedIn and um, Facebook, a few days back, I said the time for universal basic income has come, and I think it's already happening in the US and in many other countries. In fact, in our own country, in Kerala, in UP, in Delhi, there is some kind of a scheme which has been introduced where people are going to get money. What the exact mechanism is going to be, whether it's going to be via Aadhaar-based direct benefit transfer or something else, I don't know. And that's something that needs to be examined so that we don't end up filling the pockets of the wrong people. But I think that seems like one of the answers to tide through this, so that people who lose out on money because of lack of employment opportunities will be compensated. However, having said that, it's very difficult in the unorganized sector to do this because there is very little documentation apart from just the identity of the person. So at this point of time, honestly, if the government does not transfer any money to my bank account, it makes no difference to my life. And I would rather that the government is able to identify exactly the right people and transfer money to them. But the question is, how do you go about doing it? So it's far more complicated than it seems. And I'm sure they'll figure out a way to do this, because I don't think they have an option. Otherwise, uh, I mean, we could be looking at social unrest if something like this is not done. Some sort of relief will have to be given to not only corporations but also every single individual. What happens if the lockdown lasts for 2-3 months? The college would not be able to organize exams on time, and the whole cycle may get disturbed. Um, what will happen to semesters, etc.? So, Rishabh, nobody really has the answer at this point of time. Even the directors at various business schools and chancellors of various universities are trying to figure out how they should do this. But I think these are solvable problems, because there are enough tools available now to conduct virtual exams. There are enough tools currently to help people figure out um, assessments, evaluations. People can study at home. There are enough videos that you can watch. So I don't think that should be that big a problem, according to me. So they will figure it out. I understand your anxiety, because nobody likes uncertainty. Like, I would hate it if at this point of time I have to take an exam and I don't know when the exam is going to take place. It's like the worst thing to do, because I mean, especially if you are younger and if your mom or dad or whatever elder sister, brother are still managing your studies, they are likely to be like, just sit at home, study, because anyway you can't go out. You may be able to go and play in your building or whatever, but you can't go out. So you have to sit at home, just keep studying. And you keep studying without knowing what day the exam is going to be. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing. Mayur Kriplani asks, will the current ingestion of Q3 help or not help the Indian job market? Okay, that's a lot of stuff that is technical, and it's connected to a lot of things happening. Um, I mean, you could argue that if there is so much more liquidity, if so much more money is being printed in a way, eventually it will have to chase some asset class, and it might end up chasing the stock market again, which then might lead to an upturn. I don't think that happens. I mean, the real economy needs to first grow for the job market to improve. Like, an improving stock market does not mean that the job market prospects are improving. And my own understanding is that at this point of time, a lot of these monetary measures that central banks are taking may or may not be that effective. But maybe actually giving money to people directly might be more effective, because I just don't see how managing interest rates or printing more money can suddenly solve this current issue, because it's very different from anything that we've seen in the past. So yeah, I'm not sure about this QE3 thing being very effective. Satvik Koloru asks, how would the summer placement in IIM ABC get affected due to current situation? How can someone hedge themselves from this risk? Uh, I don't know, Satvik, how you can hedge yourself from this risk, because if number of jobs are fewer, then they just are fewer. Difficult to predict placements at IIM ABC at this point of time, but um, definitely there will be a hit. So there will be fewer number of offers available. Fewer companies will come. Um, Even if they come, the number of positions open will be lower. So you need to be prepared for it. I would say that um, don't focus only on wanting to get into 3 or 4 firms. You know, anyway, the odds are low, and why would you want to take so much stress and be anxious about wanting to get only into those 2 or 3 companies? It's just something that seems pretty. I mean, it's not a wise thing to do, is all I can say, because your career is not dependent on you just getting into those 2 or 3 companies. It's about you being a accomplished professional who does very good work. So I think you should focus on that rather than worrying about whether I'll get into those 2 3 companies only. Monomaniac says natural selection. I don't know in what context. If you're saying that in the context of what's happening in the world, I think might be a little insensitive. Um, yeah, Akshay, I agree with you that there is a problem right now. Okay, Manojit Roy, will the academic session going to change for B schools when results will be out? What do you think? Um, so as of now, everything is on track. Maybe 10 or 15 days आगे पीछे, but yes, there is a definite possibility that if there is a lockdown for longer, then the academic session could start a little later. But again, I think this is like really a very small problem. It should not be a very big issue in the long run. It will all get adjusted quite easily. Uh, Mehul Agarwal is asking, IIM has done all their interviews. Do you think they'll release results on time? Um, I mean, I don't know if my opinion on this is important, but I believe that they will probably want to wait before they release it. They'll want to see, because if they are releasing it, they would want to give you a very clear date and processes to do. So, which is why if there is uncertainty, then they will probably wait. So, yeah, that's what I think. Rowan says, thanks for talking about economics and Corona. How does one understand mathematical models to get grip of reality for Corona? Great question, Rowan. I recommend, a few links. In fact, I had shared it after my previous webinar. But there is a really good channel on YouTube called, I think, 3 brown and 1 blue. It's a terrific math channel. And for example, the one thing that you can immediately go and look up is why do we use logarithmic functions to track something like a coronavirus spread, or when earthquakes take place, right? On so that Richter scale that we keep on talking about. What is the difference between a 5.5 earthquake and a 7 earthquake on the Richter scale? And very, very interesting stuff, very, very basic mathematics, but I think that channel has kind of covered a few of those things around Corona, which is very interesting and very good. Apart from that, a lot of this is actually forecasting and analytics. So most of the Thomas Puyo Medium articles are superb. In fact, the links that he has given to where the modeling has been done for various things are also very, very interesting and good. So just try and look up these two resources. I think you will find it very, very useful and interesting. Okay. What is the PGP in Liberal Studies of program in IIM Kozhikode about? So I don't know enough about it yet, Kunal. But I think the attempt has been made to try and make MBA more holistic and not restricted to just a function that focuses on largely quant based and a very utility based view of the world. So, which is why I think a liberal studies program, if done well and administered well, could end up making a manager more rounded. I, at this point of time, have no idea what placements of that program will look like, but might be interesting to actually see how that course develops. But as of now, we have no data because the program is just about launched now. I have a nitty PI. Can you please share your views on what to expect from the Skype interview? So, Shubham, I spoke even in my last webinar that the basics of your interview preparation doesn't change and the questions are not going to change. It's just the medium, right? So, when you're doing it online, just ensure that you are very well prepared with your tech and you are in an area where there is not so much noise, etc., so that you are not under stress and any anxiety to give an answer. But I think all the other preparation that you would have done for any PI should be sufficient for you to do a good job, right? Could you recommend some good online course for marketing to build my profile? So Vedant, I already spoke about that in my last webinar, which is about brand management course with Rajesh Srivastav on our platform, conversations.com. There are a lot of Rajesh Srivastav videos which are there on our channel, which you can look and see if you find what he talks about interesting. And you can do that course. I think it will be quite beneficial to you. Apart from that, I'm sure you can Google up other courses, but unlikely that I'm going to talk about any of our competitors. Um, you know, so yeah, okay. I am Deva asking, do you think this will finally lead to rise in popularity of work from home and remote working? So Deva, I think that some of the changes are going to be irreversible, and work from home and remote working, where teams could actually be distributed across the world, will probably become the new normal. A lot of people are going to realize during this time that, oh, why am I spending so much money on a rented office? Maybe I can just run this entirely remotely, especially for teams which are less than 30 40 members in a company. So also type of industries, like if you are in a largely human resource focused, development oriented kind of a company, then you really don't need to be in an office together because there isn't so much of collaboration required. Some people argue that they can figure out a way to do all kinds of jobs and work remotely, but I think that it will definitely be something that will stay forever. So a lot of companies that are doing very well within this space, like Slack, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, etc., are going to be even more popular going forward, and they will stay for sure. So, and I think that a lot of managers across companies and countries and organizations are also going to realize how to get work done from their subordinates. So that also will take place. But I think that it is difficult to do in very, very large enterprises because they still operate from a command and control structure, which is all a legacy of the World War days. In fact, there's a very interesting article on this about why we work in the way we do by Paul Graham. So, if you don't follow Paul Graham, please go and follow him on Twitter. He's the one who started Y Combinator, and some of his thoughts about the world are very interesting and worth following. So, I mean, he writes his essays on paulgraham.com, so you should definitely have a look at that as well. Okay. Someone's telling me about the test. The corona test is around 4,500 rupees, and the test is costly. Yes, it is costly. I think it is costly for most people in India. But again, my knowledge about this is very limited. Hopefully, not only will this test become, less costly. In fact, I hope that at some point of time it can become free so that we can test a lot more number of people. Uh, what are the repercussions if the government does not enforce the COVID-19 lockdown? So, I mean, you just have to look at what's happened in Italy to know what are the repercussions if the lockdown is not enforced. I mean, we need to do it. There is no option. As bitter a pill it is, we just need to swallow it. Because you could look at millions of people getting infected, and even if a proportion of those people need ventilators, then we just don't have enough hospitals that have ventilators who can support these people. And remember that it is not just the people who are going to be infected with COVID-19 who are likely to need the ventilators. It's also people who are currently not affected by COVID but have other diseases and still need the ventilator are also going to be in line. And I mean, our hospital beds to population ratio and our doctors to the rest of the population ratio, etc., is not. I mean, those stats are not very good. So there is just no way that we can allow our system to be overwhelmed by people who need intensive care support, which will cripple us. It will lead to a lot of people even not having COVID-19 dying, and just will lead to mass scale disruption. So one of the only ways to do this is to slow the spread. And to slow the spread, we need to social distance, and hence lockdown becomes important. And we've seen that there are countries like UK, etc., who probably tried a different strategy, and that's not worked at all, and that's um, and they've had to revert to locking down themselves eventually anyway. So yeah, I think the answer to this question is just look at Italy and UK and the US, and let's not make the same mistake. Uh, Chan Mehrotra, what can we do if we are currently working and the pay cut may be announced? Um, so Chan, look at the situation holistically and um, see whether it's something that is happening everywhere. I think if you are going to get a pay cut, it's something that will happen to most employees across industries. And unless you have a better opportunity, either in terms of money or the job profile, I would stay put in those companies, even if I get a pay cut, because I mean everybody's got to do something. I mean, for example, what if your employer comes and says that, look, I have only two options: either I let you go or I give you a pay cut, and I ensure that you at least have a job. I think the latter in this situation is a better option, because it's not like there are companies lining up to hire people outside. So accepting a pay cut may not be such a bad thing to do. Having said that, of course, it needs to be fair, and I mean, you should have a discussion and dialogue with your employer. But at this point of time, I don't think accepting a pay cut is as bad a thing. It might be far worse to not be in a job than to get a pay cut. Manojit Roy, if we join B School this year, IIM LKI, will there be difficulties for getting summer placement in this job market? Uh, Again, Manojit, I've covered this previously in the webinar. I think it's definitely going to be a tougher year, but I have a feeling that some of the old IIMs will be less affected. It's not that they're not going to be affected, but they'll be less affected. So I mean, it's about a trade-off between being in the job market right now versus going to a B school that is reputed and graduating from there after 2 years. I think I would definitely choose the latter option, even if I get a slightly, less optimum summer placement because of lack of number of opportunities. So I think you should think about that. If I was in your place, I would take up the IIM offer. Singara Ganesh, I had resigned recently from my company on March 1st. My notice period ends on May 28th. Do you suggest to prepare for CAT 2020 after that, or look for a job? First of all, Ganesh, see if it's possible to continue working. Maybe you can ask your employer that, although I have given my resignation, now I want to continue. Maybe that person might be okay with you staying. So, you know, maybe you should think about that. Because if you are anyway going to be looking for a job, might as well continue in the job that you have. Secondly, yeah, you can still continue to prepare for CAT, like how thousands of people who, along with their jobs, prepare for CAT. So I would say that stay put in the job and prepare for CAT, and maybe stay put in the current company that you are in. Why go through the hassle of wanting to find a job again, given the current situation anyway? Shubham Pinge, I'm just 18 years old and still have been following Inside IIM for a long time. Love the content and insights. Thank you, Shubham. I hope that you continue to enjoy what we put out. Just tell more people about it so that they can also benefit from it. Uh, Go Gautam. Thanks for sensitizing the community around the need for compassion. Yes, Gautam, I hope the message has reached. And it's, again, I don't want to sound like a preacher. It's just something that I thought I should share. Uh, do you think the medical industry in whole world needs to be more organized? I think there is a lack of integration of medical policies as each nation is employing them differently at their own level. So, Akshay, again, I think that there is definitely a case for a lot of knowledge sharing across all the nations. In fact, it's something that Yuval Noah Harari, who's the writer of Homo sapiens, Homo Deus, has also spoken about that there needs to be cohesive leadership globally when people can discuss a lot of these problems. But having said that, it's a tough one because ultimately all inventions and innovation happens because someone is trying to uh, you know in most cases chase profit, because there are very few government funded research organizations in the world. I mean, for example, a country like India spends very little on research, so you actually depend on private players to you know come up with breakthroughs often. Now, the moment there is the involvement of the private enterprise, there is always going to be a conflict of what takes priority. Should it be uh, solving a problem, or should it be maximizing profit? And I mean, you could argue that let's not maximize profit, etc. But at least currently the way the world is structured, it's very difficult to know what the right way would be. So again, I don't have an answer, but definitely there could be more, and I think it's actually going to happen. I think the sharing of information is going to become better after this. There will be standard global databases where things will move, the information will flow very very quickly, because people have now realized that viruses and diseases like these do not have borders, especially in a globalized world. And hence it's important for us to ensure that every place on earth is has good medical facilities, and that it has people who are following good policies. So which is why it is in, for example, America's interest to ensure that India has a great healthcare system. It's in the interest of China to ensure that Philippines or South Korea or other countries, Sri Lanka or Afghanistan, have a good healthcare system. So I think this will be an automatic conclusion because of the situation that we are in, and it will be an automatic outcome of this actually. Okay. I just started to think if this crisis had come when we did not have such announcement digital infrastructure. Have you been seeing anything like this before? Absolutely not, Shivai Shakti. I have never seen anything like this since I was born. I don't think that most people have. Um, like simple things like I've never seen flights from other parts of the world not coming to India. I've never seen passenger trains, suspended in India. I've not seen a single war, so I don't know. I mean, even during Kargil and stuff, honestly, in Mumbai, nothing really happened ever, right? Um, there have been, terrorist attacks that I've kind of experienced, but even there, I was not at ground zero. But I've seen, for example, the city reacting to it day after, etc. And honestly, the reaction during those times was almost immediate. So that round of disruption, what it ended up leading to is more security and more paranoia about human beings. But something like this, where you have to be paranoid about something that you can't see and you can contract anywhere by just putting a hand on a table or by using a phone or by pressing a lift button or by opening a doorknob, it's just very, very crazy. We've not seen anything like this for sure. So, which is why I said in my last webinar, I feel that we are in the middle of a sci-fi movie whose end has not come, and we don't know what's going to take place eventually after that. So, Shomik, what can an MBA 2020 pass out do whose date has been delayed? There is a four-step process that I outlined in my last webinar. Just to quickly recap it, what I spoke about at that point of time is you can use this time to upskill yourself. That is to learn things that you really want to be very, very good at. The next thing I spoke about was networking. To use this time to digitally reach out to people who you find very interesting or you think you can learn from, and have a good exchange of information with those guys. So use this time to network. The other piece you should definitely do is read. So I was recommending that you read a minimum few thousand words every single day about a topic that you want to become very good at or something that you're deeply interested in. And lastly, if you don't have work for 2 months, try and get a remote project and ensure that you're doing as many real live projects as possible, even if it is remote. So if you do these four things, I think you will be better than most of your peers after the 4 months are over. And I think that link has been shared of the previous webinar already. Yes, I am Deva. Want to just repeat it. Popularity of work from home will definitely be higher. Yeah, Mayur, sorry, it is not 3 brown, 1 blue. It is 3 blue and 1 brown. But yeah, great channel. Please go and look it up. Suggest some certifications for marketing during these lockdowns. Ram, I don't, John, genuinely, I'm very sorry I don't have an answer to this problem because I don't think that marketing really works on certifications. I would say that a remote project with a company that is doing some kind of marketing, digital marketing, for example, might end up being more useful on your CV. Does InsideIIM Conversations have a plan to start online development courses, which is given importance by top companies apart from academic excellence? Okay, so Akshay, we've tried this before. If you go on conversations.com with a K, you will find 17 courses that we've built in 2017 and early 2018, and they basically are from 2,000 rupees to 5,000 rupees each. It's something that you can have a look at. We were not very successful with that particular business of ours because I don't think we understood that particular learning bit as well as we understand some of the other things. So, in fact, what we are going to start soon, and those courses are still available, by the way, if you can have a look. I highly recommend the brand management course by Rajesh Srivastav and the fundamentals of finance course by Neeti Vaidya and the Excel course, by Shrikant Rajan. I think these three courses are excellent, very, very good value for money. You will definitely learn something. But we are definitely going to be launching a mentoring, course soon, and that will happen soon. So stay tuned for that, where you will get chance to figure out your career with, some of the people that you might have seen in any of our videos, or you'll get time to spend with them, and you'll get an organized way to figure out what to do in your career. So stay tuned for that. How does IIM MBA fare against MBAs from tier 2 US, Canada universities? I think if you're working in India, the IIM degree is far more valuable than anything that you will get from there. So that's what I feel. Also, I think generally the quality of peers that you will get at the IIMs is going to be better than those at the tier 2 US, Canada universities. And I mean, again, not all the IIMs, but so yeah, it's again a case by case decision. It's not something that can be blanket said every single time. But largely, I would think the IIM MBA would fare better. Will paid internships after graduation be considered as work-ex for admissions into B schools? Very unlikely, unless it's a full-time job. So I mean, if you work for 6 months in a company before joining a B school, it will be considered as full-time work. But um, it just depends on how you've done it. Like if you're working for 2-3 hours a day for some place, then it's probably something that the interview panel might not give a lot of weightage to. Okay. Will the IIM MBA program be extended? I already spoke about that previously. Um, I have 3 years of experience in fixed income and pay cut is looming. I am already at a low CTC. I was looking for a job change. What can I do? Says Chayan. As of now, Chayan, just stay put. Honestly, just stay put. Wait it out for 2-3 months, uh, and you will find opportunities coming again after that. Right now, in an uncertain scenario, there is no need to take a decision. So just wait and see what's going on. No need to take a rash decision at this point. At least wait till 15th of April. Today we are on 22nd of March. At least wait till 15th of April. I gave my CAT without prep and IML interviews weren't good. Should I go for another attempt or settle for KI? My suggestion is if you are getting any of the old 6 IIMs, XLRI, SPGen, MDI, JBIMS, IFT, etc., you should just take it up. Genuinely, not a great time to wait around. Get into a B school and graduate in 2022, and by then things will look much better. Okay. Sorry for changing the topic, but can you please tell me how is IIM Lucknow ABM course? Um, Many are telling placements are same, but increasing batch size might be a problem, etc., etc. I think the IIM Lucknow brand is very strong, so uh, yeah, ideally people who are interested in agribusiness management should take up that course. But if you're not and you have an option and you don't have a better option, it might not be such a bad idea. Ultimately, you do get to sit for placements with the IIM Lucknow PGP batch. Sir, I'm currently pursuing MMS from KJ Simsar Marketing. What are the relevant courses I can do to build a strong profile? Will interning in Donier as marketing research intern? Um, so great that you will be interning at Donier. I hope you do a great job there. Learn market research. In fact, we have a very good course on conversations.com on market research if you want to have a look at that. Even if you don't want to have a look at that, there is a video with a senior market researcher on InsideIIM, the guy called Utsa Momoria that I've done. You might want to have a look at it. Might just help you get some guidance about how the market research industry works. What are the relevant courses I can do? I think in the second year, just take up as many brand management, marketing, sales related, B2B sales, B2C sales related, courses as possible. I think that should help you. I don't think you need to do anything beyond what is there in B school, unless you find something very interesting on, platforms like Coursera, etc. How is NMIMS Bangalore? Should I go for it or prepare for next year? Again, I don't have an answer to this question. Depends on your personal ambition in life, and what your goals are in life. So very difficult. So I wouldn't want to comment on an individual business school. Are you from IIM Indore? Yes, I graduated from IIM Indore 9 years back, Arpit. Uh, After we get over this, please, do you think China owes anything to the world more than an apology? Yeah, very interesting question, Akshay. I do think that China should have been more responsible about this whole thing, at least based on all the reading and watching of videos and news reports that I've seen so far. But I don't think realistically it's going to be possible for anybody to extract anything out of China. Seems very difficult. Arpit Yadav, tell me about placement of IIM Indore. We've just put up the placement report of IIM Indore a few days back, so you might want to have a look at that, Arpit. Best online cat coaching. I am not going to give an answer to that question because I don't honestly know, and I honestly don't even care. Cat coaching is not something that generally is an area of interest for me, despite the fact that I run InsideIIM.com. What is the minimum work-ex considered for IIM? IIM 2019 BTech grad, want to appear for CAT this year. Job joining extended to 15th April due to Corona. What is the minimum work-ex? You don't need any work-ex for IIM, Ishani. Freshers make up for more than 25 to 30% of the batches in a lot of IIMs, so you don't need to worry about it. How is business analytics certification on Coursera for job opportunities, Ask Tech Vengeance. I think that analytics is a field that is going to stay, and I expect most companies to have an analytics field of their own. So, if it's a good course where you're going to learn something, you should definitely take it up, and it might help you in your interviews in the future. What is your view on IIM Coicode's liberal studies? I've just covered that piece earlier. Ritik, you might have to rewind this webinar once it's over. Somebody else also asked this question, so I don't want to repeat myself again. Does InsideIIM plan on starting cat coaching? No, Ganesh, I don't think that's something that is on part of our plan. We might, you know, collaborate with other people who give cat coaching or help students, but again, it's not an area of interest for us at the moment. Um, uh, Ravi Ranjan, I want your team to add more conversations, cafe videos. The frequency of videos have slowed down a bit. I agree with you, Ravi. The problem is that right now we are in a lockdown, so we can't do any conversations cafes in any of the cities. So we are figuring out a digital way to, interview people and come to you guys. It's just that, some of those things which we miss out on a digital platform is the energy of the audience. So which is why we want to figure out a way in which this works out best. But do expect, a different format for Conversations Cafe in the near future. So that is happening in a few days' time. And we will do it. And I'm really sorry that the frequency is slowed down, but at this point of time, guys, we don't really have an option. Akshay Sharma, I'm looking forward to individual mentoring session. Please make the platform where your company fulfills the gap between the company's requirements, students' present skills. Yes, Akshay, that is exactly what we are going to try and do to at least guide people so that they know what is missing currently. I think currently the bigger problem is that students don't even know what they are missing. So hopefully our program will do that. Whether we will be the ones who will, make a course to help you bridge that gap, I don't know, because it could be anything. Manoj Roy is asking, IIM Coimbatore versus IIM Indore. I mean, I am from IIM Indore. I graduated in 2011. I'm more likely to be biased towards my school, so I don't think I'm the right person to ask this question. But there is sorts of content about both IIM Kozhikode and IIM Indore on Inside IIM. I think there are at least a few hundred articles, so you might end up spending at least a week just reading about both IIM Kozhikode and IIM Indore on the platform. I think that should help you make a decision. Thank you, Ganesh, for your good comments. I hope you continue to watch and read and get benefits and progress in your career. FMCG sales versus IT services, better career option according to you? I think these binary questions don't make sense, Siddharth. If you're interested in FMCG sales, then that is the right career for you. And if you're interested in coding and writing software, then that is the right career for you. I don't think it's either or choice at all. I don't think that one is better than the other. It really depends on how good you are at either of those two things. Saurabh Saxena, I am a civil engineering graduate, but my interest has started to be inclined towards business analytics. So definitely, like I said, analytics is here to stay, and there's nothing wrong. I think it's the area of the future. I think every single company needs um, people who have knowledge of analytics, and that field is also growing and developing faster than we think. So in fact, my own understanding of analytics might be limited now because the research that I did on it is also probably 6 months old now, and things would have moved, since then. So it's a great area to be in actually. What was your experience while working for BOFA in the US? How different was from working in India? So Vivek, I didn't spend any time in the US working. I was mostly there for training programs. So while I spent some significant time there, I wasn't really selling anything there. Most of the work that I did was in Mumbai. So while I learned a lot of things there, in fact, one of the best experiences I had was, doing a valuation workshop with Ashwath Damodaran. Fantastic teacher to learn from, and you should see his videos. He has a channel. Everything, all his courses are available for free. You should check that out. So a lot of those kinds of learnings. In fact, there was some very good sales training exercise that we went through which I really thought was beneficial for me. So a lot of those kinds of things were very good in the US, but largely in India was where most of the work happened. So and most of our clients were US companies, so it's very different. Okay. Um, Please do Conversations Cafe in Chennai. Ganesh, I have no idea when we'll be able to do the next Conversations Cafe. So, I mean, just look at the uncertainty, right? So, right now you'll have to be okay with whatever we give you digitally. Sajal is asking, Yobo is not available. So, Sajal, we are working on it. I think in a few days we should find it on the platform again. Um, Worst case, if you don't see it by the end of this week, then just write an email to us. My team will figure out a way for you to get a copy of your book. How can I prepare myself for finance jobs after MBA? I am a civil engineer background and preparing for CAT 2020. Is CA, CFA necessary? Neither is necessary, Ravi. Um, how can I prepare myself for finance jobs? I think just do a lot of reading, understand the industry. Right now there isn't much that you can do once you enter B school, and if you are in a school where good finance jobs are available, then you will automatically know what you need to do at that point of time. But as of now, maybe you can just read a lot of macro and microeconomics, continue to track what's happening in the world. In InsideIIM placement report, what does it mean by not verified? So Manojit, when we say it is not verified, it essentially means that we haven't actually checked for every single company actually making an offer. And the placement committee has not interacted with us about it. Whereas in most verified reports, the placement committee works with us to put out content. So which is why it's unverified when we make a report on our own. Okay, Chirag Jain, InsideIIM is the best thing to happen to the MBA industry. Your channel provides top quality. Thank you, Chirag, for your kind words. Ishani, does job profile matter? Only work experience to make my profile better to get into top IIMs to become answerable in interviews? Want to do a gap after grad? I think Ishani, you know, job profile. If you have a work experience, then the quality of work you've done is going to be important. If you haven't worked, you need to obviously demonstrate what is it that you've done in that time. So, what is important? I mean, again, it's a case by case basis, different answer is there, but largely, nobody likes somebody who's been wasting their time or has been completely directionless for too long. Especially the IIMs don't like it. 2017 IIT Bombay grad, 2.5 years of work ex, got IIML call this year. Is it wise to wait and give CAT again and try for IIM and B? No, Adarsh, if I was in your place and if I got IIML, if I converted it, I would take it up. I think it's a top school, and this is a great time to be in B school. Tejas Joshi, how to transition from BCom to data analytics? Is MBA analytics good enough? Good choice. Yeah, I think it's a good choice depending on which institute is offering it. But how to transition from BCom to analytics? I don't think there's any transition required. There are lots of courses available online. Just, I mean, right now in the current age, guys, you can just about learn anything online. Like all knowledge is available for free, genuinely. What people ask you to pay for is essentially a program or some kind of a certification, and not all of the certifications have value. So if you are going to be very good at analytics, and then if you do get a degree that has value in the market, then yeah, you will end up getting a good job. um, can you guys in the coming months add some activities, competitions for students appearing for CAT 2020? So Ravi, we are working on it, and my colleague Debayan has been working on it, so we will get back to you on this for sure. AV Shri Anurag, I am a student of Tier 3 BTech college. Is this going to hamper my chances of selection at IIMs? Well, I'd say, Anurag, that being from a top-notch engineering college is always going to help you. It's not going to be a disadvantage. Whereas I have not seen a good candidate from a Tier 3 college getting rejected just because he's from a Tier 3 college. I don't think that has ever happened. So I don't think you should worry about it. Ayush Kumar, what would you recommend to a fresher who's inclined towards career in finance, MBA from India or Masters in Finance from LBS or other prestigious universities? Uh, First of all, evaluate whether you want to go abroad. Simply because there are labor-related restrictions in most of Europe, especially in UK. I don't think that it's that easy to get jobs anymore. That is one. So I don't know if you want to spend the kind of money that an LBS requires to do an MBA abroad. What would I recommend if you still want to go abroad and do something? Honestly, nothing. Just keep building your profile and um, keep doing well in whatever you do. If you are in a job, do well at your job. If you are still studying, ensure you have great grades. Ultimately, what people look for is people who are consistent in their performance, and sometimes people who do something very different are given extra weight because diversity always helps, and having done something really different and cool will always make you stand out. So, okay. Uh, I have watched all the videos from InsideIIM during the lockdown in the past week. Great, Ravi. I hope we have about 750 odd videos. So I don't know if you watch all 750 videos, but you will hopefully keep getting content every day. I have 65 and 12. Guide me. Jairam, I don't know how to guide you beyond this. I don't really know what your question is, honestly. But anyway, guys, it's been, I think, almost 1 hour, 10, 11 minutes that we've been doing this. Thank you so much for being part of this. I will try to do this more often, given that we are all stuck at home right now, and you guys anyway feel that you're missing out on some of the conversations, cafe related, videos, etc. So we will try and do that more often now, and hopefully you will be part of these sessions more often. But let's not forget, that these are tough times. Let's not be entitled, and let's stay humble around trying to build a profile, etc. Know that we are still in a privileged position. A lot of us are not going to, be starving because of this. A lot of us are not going to be out of jobs suddenly out of this. A lot of us are actually in a great position to start a career by joining very good quality business schools at this point of time, or some other university for any postgraduate program. So let's be grateful about what we have, and let's be optimistic. Hope that this passes away soon. Let's do whatever it is required for us to not, uh, you know, pass on the transmission of the virus to more people. Be alert, and let's keep doing what we have to do. But thank you so much for being with us. There are a few more questions that I've seen right now, but there is, okay. Let me just try and quickly answer one of this. Manojit says I've watched Arrogant Fool for 2 or 3 times. Thank you, Manojit. But I don't know why would you watch it 2 3 times. There is, I think ek bar mein you would get the message easily. Rohan Kumar, is engineering background helpful for post-MBA analytics? I think engineering helps to the extent that your quant is likely to be better than non-engineers, and you have a problem-solving approach. So that might help, but I'm not sure it goes beyond that. Ravi Ranjan says, I have watched all conversations, cafe videos, and KYC and some cringy relationship videos too. Thanks for the feedback, Ravi. We'll pass that on to the team. Will being from a BCom background disadvantage in placements for data analytics? I don't think so, Tejas. Unless there is a clear criteria in a particular school that says that we will not admit non-engineers. But I don't think that is the case. I mean, some of the best data analysts I know are actually chartered accountants, because they understand numbers and they can understand how numbers move sometimes better than even engineers. So I don't think you need to worry about that at all. Okay. Why isn't there any donate button on your live chat? I will think about this, Ravi. We'll figure it out. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I hope the message that I wanted to give was communicated. And we'll do this more often. Thank you for your time. Thank you, guys.